Welcome to Ask the Druids. And today I have Angie ZXUH on, and we are going to talk a little bit about channeling because she's also a very, very great channeler. So, Angie, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Hi everyone, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here today. We've just recently met, and I'm really, really happy that we were introduced. As you see, my name is, or as you heard, I guess, my name is Angie ZXUH. That is my real name. It's not a fake. And I go by it, and in my work, it means Zen expands to unlock healing. I mean, how perfect is that, right? And what I really love to do is I love to empower people to understand that they have all that they need in this work to be successful and happy and walk in the light and whatever. They have their own power. Like, I want to help people access their own power, I think is probably the best way to put it. That's a message that we're all of us, these entrepreneurs, trying to put together for ourselves. And it seems to be ever changing and shifting. So sometimes, to recite it on the fly sounds a little hokey, but I want to put you in the driver's seat of your own life, right?
Yeah, and I think that's yeah, and I agree with you. That's something that so many people don't put themselves in the driver's seat. They just kind of flow along or have people show them things, but it's about taking your power back, living in your authenticity, and really saying, where do I want my life to go and how to get there? So
I don't know about you, but I find so many teachers hiding in the realm of the student. That's what I call it. It's a real phenomenon where I
yeah.
hear, oh, I'm going to take this class, I'm going to take this class, and I signed up for this on Udemy, and I signed up for this with that person, and I'm like, you do understand that you could teach all of this, right? And they look at you and they kind of like freak out a little bit, and I just so it's my mission to help them energetically find a thread that they can grab onto and pull like a rope or I guess like a rope, like a boat, whatever, so that they can start to make those connections for themselves. Amazing.
Yeah, I always love that thread analogy that you use. And so a mutual friend of ours actually told me about that and how you find the knot and then unravel it, to really continue to pull down and to really clear that energy. And I just when I heard that, I was like, this makes so much sense. Like,
Right.
it really makes sense.
Because so when I assess a person's energy or when I'm working with somebody, and I see things in concentric circles. So, some people might see your guides, they might see what they look like, they might see, representations of what you do. And for me, everything is in shapes.
Mhm.
So I see things in concentric circles or in shapes, and which sounds strange, right? But intuition is all about how you connect to receive and interpret energy. So this is how I interpret the energy. So for me, the circle right around the person is their comfort zone. And comfort zones tend to be a lot bigger on people who don't understand. No, it's the other way around. Yeah, yes. I'm being corrected. Don't mind me. Comfort zones are small on people who don't understand their power and their connection.
Right. Right.
And then their possibility, like the next one is possibility, the field of possibility. And that is like so big. Sometimes I won't tell somebody what I sense there because they'll, you know, kind of get nervous, right? And then, so there's just more. So when you actually get to the place of possibility and probability, and you can find these little threads, and there's all kinds of them in there, and you can kind of gather them up and start pulling these things closer to you.
Mhm.
That's what it's all about. So it's about expanding the comfort zone to meet those things that are possible and pulling the possible and the probable closer to that comfort zone, because nobody's going to succeed until they get those things into their comfort zone, right? Like, growth is outside your comfort zone, but once you grow and move outside your comfort zone, the comfort zone expands. Oh, this is good stuff.
Mhm.
Comfort zone expands to include those things. And when you because the mutual friend we're talking about has no idea how powerful she is. And I'm really working hard to convince her that she has everything she needs,
Yeah.
right? Like, so, wow, that was really good stuff right there. Anyway, so there you go.
Yeah.
A little bit of channeled information right off the bat. How do you like that?
I know, exactly. And you know, for people that are watching and listening, I think this is gonna be a little different format than what I normally do. But because Angie is such an amazing channeler, we can both tap in and have these really cool conversations about this. So this is kind of a cool way to look at it. So
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this goes and just to see
yeah.
um, you know, who's got what to say, I guess that would be a good way to put it.
Exactly. Well, I keep being tapped on the shoulder going, you need to talk to her about contentment. You need to talk to her about contentment. So one thing that
Oh, wow.
yeah, so
Interesting.
one revelation I've had is when we talk about comfort zone, is that you know we get safety and comfort and we need to expand our comfort zone, like you said. But what I've been told lately is that just make sure you're not sitting in this contentment, like, oh, it'll be fine, it's okay. Contentment can also be comfort. And so you have to really make sure that you don't become content with saying, oh, this is just how it's supposed to be. Oh, it'll come together. We sometimes need to push through that contentment energy and out of that comfort zone to continue to grow and expand.
Yeah, interesting. So contentment, isn't that interesting? Contentment. Okay, so this is Miranda now.
Yeah.
Contentment is born of limiting belief.
Mhm.
Limiting belief is given to us by our families, by our DNA, by our ancestors, by our surroundings, by all of the things that we interact with on a day-to-day basis, that they put those limits on us. So um, when people are comfortable in the limiting beliefs, they become content in those beliefs.
Right.
And then that contentment keeps them, and that is what the others bank on, that you will become content. That is what they bank on. That is what they want to happen, because if you stay content, you stay small. And if you stay small, then you are easily
Yeah.
controlled,
Yeah. Yeah.
so to speak. Ooh,
That's deep.
yes,
She really got there with
that
that.
was
I
that was
love it.
good.
Yeah, yeah, because contentment's something I've been working on, that energy of just that, which stems back from, you know, ancestral lines in many places. But I love how she's expanded upon that to really bring that in.
Isn't that interesting? I'm not one to bring in uh outside forces. I really believe that we are in control, but the truth is there's a lot of outside forces that are that way, right? Those people that want us to think, you know, like the hive mind, or um so yes, and if you become content, you become complacent, don't you?
Yep.
Right? And complacency, it gets you nowhere.
Right.
So wow.
Right. And I think that comes in too when we say, I hear a lot of people will tell me, you know, a lot of friends and clients will say, well, the universe will just show me the next step, or it, you know, it's supposed to be this way right now, it'll change. And I was in that same position, you know, saying, well, it'll come, it'll happen when it's supposed to. But I became content in those situations instead of saying, okay, I need some help from my guides or from, you know, other energies out there. I need some help me push through this contentment energy so that I can kind of be in the driver's seat of my own life, how you mentioned earlier, and really say, okay, this is where I'm going, this is what's going to happen.
Wow. And that right there is action and alignment, isn't it? I mean, that's exactly, there is no poof.
No.
Don't care what anybody tells you. There is no poof. There is never going to be $1 million poof on the middle of your living room floor. It's not going to happen. It just isn't.
Yeah.
However, you can, shall we say, manifest, whatever words you want to use,
Yeah.
$1 million, but you don't go from 0 to 1 million.
No.
You go from 0 to 100, and then from 100 you go to 5, and then from 5 to 1,000, and from 1,000 to 5,000. 5,000 maybe to 10 or 20,
Mm-hmm.
and so on and so forth. And so, but you must take action at each step. That is on you.
Exactly. And it's
That is on
about,
you.
yeah, and we had this conversation last week when we met. It was about, when you're in alignment, people, we both know that manifest are buzzwords for both of us. And it's, for me, it was about that alignment. So if someone wants to poop the $1 million, but if you're in alignment with where your life needs to be and you're taking action. So did you buy the lottery ticket? Did you take the new job? Did you do all of these things that will help you to be in that space, start the new business, to allow for that money to flow in? And not put parameters on how it's supposed to show up. I have so many people say, I'm going to be a millionaire, I'm going to win the lottery. I'm like, why are you putting parameters on how you can become a millionaire? What if it is going to come to you a different way?
Especially when it's so unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
That is an interesting conversation, right? We're psychics, we channel. To some degree, they say we can see the future. Why can't we get the lottery numbers? There are people that have done it. If you look at Jose Silva, the Silva method. I don't remember if it was the son or somebody that was able to get lottery numbers and win quite often. But the truth is, it's very random. The energy of the lottery is very random, and there's nothing to grab onto to pull it closer to you, right? So here's the other thing, though. May not be in alignment for you to be a millionaire. Maybe you don't need to be a millionaire. Maybe you need 100,000 a year or 500. It to win the lottery, especially these large ones, is a lot more work than a lot of people are willing to do, which is why when people win these big lotteries, they go broke.
Right.
Right? Because it's not in alignment for them to have that much money. They don't know what's, oh, I won't have to work anymore. Wrong.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to manage that money, because if you don't manage that money, somebody's going to manage it for you, and you're going to find that
Right.
They've managed it all the way for you.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's because when you said that they're not supposed to have it, it's not part of their path or alignment. And maybe it came in to teach them a lesson about taking more control of their life, control of their finances, having more of that power in there. And you never know what the answer could be or what the reason is. Because I always tell people, don't assume just because it was this reason for that person, it's going to be the same for you.
Oh, no, right.
Yeah.
Right. And I think you can shift what is in alignment for you.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. You win this big lottery, and maybe you were the person who thought you were not going to have to work another day in your life, but then you discover that, oh, yes, you must. Yeah. And now that winning allows you to find a new passion, and you can open some kind of charitable organization or foundation that allows you to do so much more in the world than you were able to before. Now you're aligning with a different kind of life purpose that wasn't really available to you until you had that money.
Right.
What it was available to you, but it wasn't available to you to that degree, or visible to you, I suppose, is visible to you at the time. Interesting. It totally can shift. You are in control.
Yeah. It's about where you're at, how you're coming in. I've seen people shift timelines, because they need to have that new experience. You can, there's, so I'm hearing, stop going down the rabbit hole. That's what I keep telling me. I'm like, well, I kind of like this, going down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
I love a rabbit hole. I mean, what's wrong with the rabbit hole? Okay, well, stop going down the rabbit hole. Where shall we go?
Yes. What comes to you? So, when you talked about what work you do and really putting people in the driver's seat, so as you think about that and as you work with clients, how do you really work to get them into their own power and into their own authenticity?
So my work, and it's taken me some years to arrive at what I understand that looks like is my tagline is visualize, align, surrender. Visualize. You need to know what you want. You need to know what it looks like. Some people need only to understand the parts and pieces. Some people need a really clear picture. I think there's there's more than one kind of person and more than one kind of way to visualize. So if you want, let's say, to build a restaurant, some people can figure out, oh, first I need to create a menu. Then they can go and create that menu, and then they can move on to the next step. But maybe someone else may need to create this big picture that shows what does the building look like, what is the name of the restaurant, what is the menu, what kind of food, what kind of people. Like, that's I don't know how to explain exactly what I'm going with that, but let's just go back to the menu. You figure out what the menu needs to be. Now you need to align with the menu, right? What does that mean? You need to do the work to figure out what the menu is. So once you do that, now you need to surrender and step back and say, okay, I've done my part, universe, you move in and you lift it up and bring it to me. So I've done what I've created the vibration I need to align to that thing that I want. And now I'm going to let the universe bring it to me. Because one thing I see is, no, there's a couple things really. People give up right before the magic, right? Or they are so attached to a particular outcome that the thing that was bigger, better, rounder, more beautiful for them went right past them and they didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
Because they were so focused on this one thing. So for me, because it's so individual, it's, if I'm working with you, it's one thing. If I'm working with someone else, it may look different, right? But it's still visualize, align, surrender, and that is all surrounded and wrapped up in gratitude. Because without gratitude, there's nothing. There must be gratitude. Without gratitude, yeah, I'm not saying that, but okay.
Yeah. Well, and as you talk about surrender, so something that I've really been that the Druids talked to me about and really came to me is surrender's been one of those buzzwords for me too lately. It wasn't before. And it came into my, they kind of told me, they're like, you need to look at it as open acceptance. Because with surrendering, like you said, people put parameters and they're only seeing this and they miss what they need, which is right here.
Right.
It was, they kept telling me, like, just go into this with an open acceptance. Don't put things in boxes. Don't say it has to look this way or be this color or smell this way, but just allow for that, for what is going to come to you. And I did that on some things and had some really big things change in my life where I'm like, whoa, what I thought I wanted and needed was not what I got. And this is exactly what I need. I looked at it. So it was really that, I did the work and just that open, just allowance coming in.
Isn't that amazing? I mean, sometimes our human minds are, I don't want to say small, but small. Because possibilities.
Right.
That field of possibility that I spoke about earlier, is vast. Yeah. And I have accessed it in people and literally said, oh yeah, I'm not gonna mention that. I'm just not gonna say it because they will, get afraid. They will be afraid. So it's amazing to work with somebody and sense that their field of possibility, that's my term for it, has expanded based on their level of trust. Because that's really what surrender is about, isn't it? Yeah. Trust. Right. Trust that you've done your part. Yeah. And now you can step back and trust the universe to do theirs, his, hers, whatever word you want to use for universe. Amazing. Ooh. It just got really quiet and still all around me. So yeah, it's very interesting. So I don't know if I told you there are 9. I have 4 on this side, 4 on this side, and 1 behind me. The three on this side, 3 on the left, and 3 on the right are kind of support staff. My Akashic record gatekeeper lives there and everything. But the 3 that are behind me, Miranda, Marco, and Matthew, they are behind me, and they're like tall and proud, like, so it's kind of an amazing feeling when you can. And I'm not okay, right? Anybody that's listening that you think you want to channel, you want to be a channel, you are a channel. I'm not special. I have these 3 behind me. They are connected to me. I have known 3 or 4 people who have actually worked with Matthew also. Or, through the course. Anyone can do this. You just have to trust, and you have to be willing to access the energy and figure out how you can interpret it, right? Because that's what it's all about. So it's very lovely. I like this feeling. I feel tall. I like when that happens. It's something, it's very centered, right? Like when you really get into the channeling and you really start connecting to the universe and connecting to the wisdom, it's very, very centering, and it's very, it kind of pulls me up, which I think is good because, I'm getting kind of older, and I'm afraid I've been 5'4" my whole life. I'd like to stay that way forever.
Yeah. Well, and I think when you say you feel taller and as channels, at least for me, and what I'm picking up is it's what they're telling me, it's the same for you, is that when we work within that space and the ego really pulls out, and we're truly just in that authentic, source space of who we are, of our soul and of our guides and the beings we channel, is that it allows us to see that growth and that pulling up, because that is so important. Because anything that's heavy that weighs us down, which an ego can, it can protect us, and there's a reason for it and it's necessary, but it really allows that part to really push aside and for us to live in that space. So I'm asking, well, can we always live in there? And they started laughing at me. They're like, yeah, that's what you'd like, but that's not going to happen because then we don't have the human experience. But
for sure, human experience, but also don't forget the job of the ego to keep us safe.
Yeah.
If we didn't have ego, if we didn't have that sort of, and to some degree it is fear, right? But we'd walk in front of a bus.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or, although some of us have been dumb enough every now and then to touch a hot pan without thinking about it anyway. But, that when you do something like that, it's because you're not thinking, right? So your ego is out of the way, has taken a vacation. It's really interesting in this work because one of the things I teach, and I think it's really, really important, is neutral, the state of neutral. For me, that means free from assumption, judgment, self-doubt, and fear. And I just ask my body to release those things when I go into this work so that the information can be clear and concise and comfortable and appropriate. I think that's really important. Yeah, and I lost it. I don't know where I was going with that. I hate when I lose it, but sometimes it happens.
When I see that, I'm like, it wasn't meant to continue.
Exactly. That's the ego, right? Like, oh, I want to look good.
Yeah.
Right? That's the ego. I want to look good. I don't want that to happen. But sometimes it's just, okay, that's it. Be quiet now.
Yeah, exactly. Enjoy that stillness or what's there. So.
Oh, I love the stillness. I love the stillness. So one of the things that I've done, and I have some pretty ardent followers, people who will show up for things that I do, like group things that I do, regularly. And so there are people who are kind of advanced and that I can take to different places and to different, have different experiences than maybe I might do with somebody who's never met me, because the energy can be intense. And so one of the things that I love to do is to take us outside of the collective consciousness, right, which that's where the stillness is, right? That's where that etheric stillness lives. And when you're outside of the collective consciousness, there's um yeah, it's kind of like if I have tinnitus. It's kind of like if your ears ring all the time, every minute, and then you go outside the collective consciousness, it's like when it would stop, which I don't, maybe you can only appreciate that if it happens to you, but it's just, it's not a place you can live though. You can't function as a human in that space.
No.
Um, and it's particularly draining, right? Like that's another thing. I love the idea of, like when you channel, I'm sure it's the same. We're connecting to whatever you want to call it, the ether, the fifth dimension, whatever the buzzword of the day is for what that is, but you can't stay there forever. You can't, and it's not because you're using your own physical energy to do it, but it's, a lot of people say when they do Reiki or they do, energy work,
Yeah.
oh, I have to be careful that I'm not using my own energy. You're not using your own energy, you're a channel.
Yeah.
However, I always put it like in my mind when if you've ever like power washed something, or you've had a hose and you're really, really hard spraying and you're spraying the water and spraying the water and spraying the water, and then when you let go, your hand is like, oh my gosh, or your hands are like, oh, exhausted. To me, it's the same type of thing.
Yeah.
I know that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but you get it, right? You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. I totally agree.
And so you have to be mindful when you're in that space that you're taking care of your physical body as well. So as a good example, I love crystal meditations. One of the things I do crystal, like I will grid an entire room, put people in the middle of the room, and then I will emanate energy in the center of the room to activate the crystals.
Oh.
Now, it is very, very high vibration, high frequency, it's powerful energy and it's a lot of fun. But if you're not careful and you don't ground your energy when you're finished, things can happen like you can get lost going home. Now, that has happened to me. And from my space to my home is 2 turns. That's it, 2. And I've gone the wrong way. So it's really important that you are able to separate the connection to the energy, the connection to the ethers, whatever you want to call it, and the physical. And you have to look out for your physical body too. I think that's important.
Yeah, because I always hear people say, oh, I am a spiritual being. I'm, of light and all of that, which we are. We all have souls. We all have higher selves. We're all connected. But there's also this physicalness that is very connected to the earth, which is what the Druids talk about so much of the physical body. It's of the earth. It's from the earth. It's going to stay with the earth. And that's what gives us the ability to live within this, on this planet and have these experiences. And so it's about that connection of the two. And so I've talked to a lot of people, I'm like, you have to balance out the physical and the spiritual, and you spiritually have to see things from your physical body. Because when we're in the body is when we truly have even more of those experiences than what we've ever had before. And we can see it from this way. Because my guides have shown me before, they're like, this is how you would see it from our perspective. Now go back into the body and see it from this perspective of the body.
Oh,
and it is
fascinating.
It is so powerful. So I try to do that every day is to, at some point, whether I'm looking out the window or I'm among nature, see this with the human eye, because you can't do this all the time. When I leave this human body, I'm not going to be able to see it from that unless I decide to reincarnate it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's about just that being and coming back in and regrounding to your body.
Isn't that interesting? Because that's one thing that really bugs me, is how so many people are in such a hurry we're entering the fifth dimension and the fifth dimension this and the fifth dimension that. And like I said, it's fun to play in the ethers. It is fun, but we are here for human experience, right? This is where we experience edges.
Yeah.
Right? Having edges. This is where we experience individuality. in a way that's not available to us anywhere else.
Right,
Or at least on the other side. It could be all other planets, you know.
right, yeah.
Um, but oh, I love that. Now it's interesting too because over the years, um, you know, everybody talks about grounding, and I, as an energy worker, as somebody who has done a lot of work, a lot of energy work, the importance grounding is important. I don't like to work intuitively if I'm too grounded because I have trouble connecting, right? But the importance of grounding. So this was another place where I really um tried to empower people. If he, oh, well, I can't really get outside, or I, you know, my feet are allergic to grass, or whatever it is. And so I would tell people, put your feet flat on the floor, stand straight, you know, like mountain pose, right? If
Yeah.
you're a yoga person. Um, and just close your eyes and say, I invite earth energy to ground me, center me, and anchor. This is the most important thing, anchor my connection to the divine.
Mhm.
And we would do this in energy classes. And I would walk up to a person before they did this, and I would, you know, push them on their shoulder, and they would, you know, go back like this. And then I would invite them to do this prayer. I call it a prayer. And then they would stand, and I would go to push them, and they'd be really solid on their feet. And they would, you know, everybody be like, it's that easy? Yes, it's that easy. Now, does that mean you shouldn't go out in the grass? No, you should spend the time, look at the trees or the weeds, whatever you might be seeing at the moment when you're looking out the window. Um, you should make that connection, have the physical connection, put your hands on a tree and listen. But that's a different conversation altogether than grounding your physical body, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you know, sometimes we're stuck in places, you know, like we both live, you know, in the Chicagoland area. So in January, we're not going outside and putting our feet in the grass.
No, nope.
Yeah. But we have that ability to kind of pull in that energy in. And then, you know, maybe a couple, you know, once a week instead of every day, we might go out there and stand in our boots and our coat and just feel that fresh air or touch that tree, but just really bring that in. And that's really cool. It's a really interesting concept of, you know, how what works for what do you need at this moment in time when you're feeling ungrounded to you know, to use that, to bring that in. I love that because, you know, I live in a condo in the air, so grounding for me is a struggle sometimes, you know, because I have to go, you know, outside, go to the park, really, you know, root down in, but to be able to pull that over. So
Yeah, and for me, that's, you know, that's visualize, right? That's another thing that you can visualize. And I have never given that exercise to anyone that it didn't work ever.
mhm. Well, and that brings me to something that and someone else told me they do is even sometimes if they need, you know, a certain, you know, say they need a headache medicine and they don't have it with them, holding it to them, bringing that energy to them, or an essential oil or things like that, to
A
say,
crystal.
Crystal, yeah, bring this energy to me, allow
Hmm.
it to go into the body in whatever way it needs to, and then, you know, being able to just pick up on that healing from whatever that thing, you know, a crystal, an essential oil, you know, whatever it could be.
You can actually do that with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that I love the sort of luminous roots visualization, or the visualization, you know, where you really root yourself down all the way as far as you can into the center of the earth. And then you invite your body and the earth to communicate in a way that allows your body to take up any, you know, minerals or anything that it needs from the earth in order to be more physical and physically connected and well, physically. I like the word well. Um, it's amazing. You know, I love what's happening here for me is, you know, over the years, I've sat in a lot of classes and I've had a lot of conversations, and things are, I'm remembering things, and I love that, right? You know, things, oh, I forgot that I do that, or I forgot that I heard that. But that roots, that luminous roots, the roots meditation is a really lovely one that anyone can do at any time.
Yeah.
If they're feeling, if you're feeling scattered or clumsy, or if you have a morning like I did yesterday, my keyboard went kaput and my hair clip broke, and I mean, it was just crazy, and I was like, oh, my energy is out of control here. Time to do some breath work, right? And pull it in, because the, you know, somebody like I have been known to knock out street lamps in the past.
Mhm.
If you don't, somebody who's got, who I, as a practice, emanate energy. So it's my job to be mindful of what that might look like, right? So, yeah. So I was able to, through breath and through grounding, to pull that in and sort of get a better handle on the day. And the truth is, the keyboard was 9 years old, so it was time. But it
Yeah.
was like, but why now? Really? Why now?
Yeah. Yeah. Could have given me one more day, like just getting me through.
5 more minutes, because all I needed to just send an email or something, like,
Yeah.
but anyway, yeah, wow. I love this has gone all over the place. Energy, and I love energy. That's, for me, everything is energy, right? It's all about the energy. And
Yeah.
I call myself an energy master. And the reason I do that is because I studied an energy modality called Amakuaki, and I did a lot of session work in order to be able to do, I mean, I hold the certification, and $7 will get me a cup of coffee, right? But it's meaningful to me.
Right.
It's not, I don't really know what's going to happen with that modality. It seems to kind of, the woman that created it was on the old side, and so I'm not really sure what's going to happen with it, but the energy is still there, and it's still amazing. And it has given me such a great appreciation for how to work with energy and sense energy, and how to understand that the way that you see or sense energy could be different from the way I see or sense it. And yet we can come up with similar uh, similar outlooks, or some similar information.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
it had I channeled on energy healing, and I'm certified in Jikin and Reiki, and a lot of other things. And I me that I like to study a lot. I'm also the teacher, I'm just not the student, but I look at them as tools in my toolbox. And when I was really looking at energy healing, because people will tell me all the time, like, man, you can heal, and I'm a healer, but I do it in a very different way. But I feel like as we're picking up all these modalities, they're like tools, kind of like we were talking about pendulums and cards and things before. But it's about finding how it connects with you and how it works with you. And if you understand how it was taught to you, and you can really, take that in and have respect and love for that modality, but then it's also figuring out how does it mesh with you. And so,
it has to, right?
yeah.
That, I mean, there are some that are so rigid, and this was one of them. She was pretty rigid in the way, that, and I remember when I first learned Reiki as well, because Reiki master. The truth of the matter is, I study energy now. I don't, Reiki or AK, whatever it is, I brought it all together in a way that works for me, right? But the way some of those modalities are taught, with the, you put your hands here and here and here and here, like, that just is too rigid for me. I can't live in that rigid world.
Right.
And it's, what's interesting to me is that, as friends and as a tribe, I really have attracted people who take things like astrology and combine them with, the Akashic record, or family constellations, or, who take channeling and combine it with, tarot, or whatever it might be. Because instead of feeling like, oh, I took this course, I need to make it look exactly like what they taught me, I need to make it look like what resonates with me and what I'm here and guided to do, right? And that does not diminish the person who follows. For example, I studied Akashic record reading with a relatively, I would say, well-known organization.
Yeah.
And the way she taught, I loved her. The things she taught, I loved it. But I couldn't execute it. And oh, well, you go in, you do this reading, you call the people on the phone. It should only take you 10 minutes to deliver a reading. Wrong. Can't do that. I can't do that. I don't want, it's not even that I can't do that. Can I do it? Absolutely, I could do it. Do I want to do that? No, because it's not fun.
Yeah.
If the work's not fun, then I don't want to do it. That's me. That's how I roll. My work has always been fun my whole life. No, even when I worked in things that I didn't necessarily like to do, I still found a way to make it fun. So it's interesting how and I wonder how much of that is right, the American dream, so to speak. The way that we work and that we work, how some people work because they need to eat, right? They need the money. And they're willing to accept whatever the circumstances or conditions are because they need that paycheck. And again, that's others capitalizing on the idea that they've got people thinking small, I think.
Right.
So I think, yeah. So they say it's to some degree that is just the way that it is. Those people that accept those things at that level, that is, for some of them, not all, but for some of them, that is just where they are vibrationally. And somebody who really walks in the light, who really shines the light, spreads the light, wants to see everybody uplifted, but it just can't happen.
Yeah, I think it comes down to each person and how they work. We know in our field we've come across a lot of people that do the similar work to us. Some we resonate with, some we don't. And it's all about that alignment. And I think the people that are searching for someone to assist them or are also need to find an alignment with others as well. And it's not, it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It's just how we are. If we were all the same, there'd be, the human experience wouldn't work, because
Right.
we would never have those experiences or learn and grow. And that connection to that.
It's interesting. So I have worked with more than one person whose mission it was to work with what they call the stuck people. The stuck people are people who incarnate here over and over and over again, because like Groundhog Day, on a loop, because there are things present in their soul, imprints present in their soul, that they're not addressing while they're here and while they're human. So they're stuck. And then one of the reasons they're stuck is because they are the kind of people who are unwilling to believe things they cannot see.
Yeah.
And so these people, it is their mission to help the stuck people. And it's interesting that some of them do it as fiction writers, some of them do it as therapists, some of them do it in many different ways. There are many different people helping these stuck people. And what's interesting is people are learning things from many different I guess genres, many different genres. Star Trek taught people a lot about a lot of Star Trek taught a lot of people about a lot of things, opened people's minds to a lot of things that didn't realize it. And it's when it is not important that every light worker spread their message this way. So don't, that's not what I mean. But when you have the ability to spread the message in a way that it expands to so many people, it's like casting a wide net. Right. And sometimes you have the opportunity to bring some of those people to the end of their loop, which
Mhm.
and there are always people here whose mission that is
Mhm.
to bring people to the end of that loop. But there will always be people on that loop.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I think I like the idea of stuck. I was called them slow learners.
yeah, yeah, right, right.
Keep coming back again. But I also feel like, and what I'm hearing right now from them is, as the earth increases its vibration and we start shifting these dimensions and these densities, I think that stuckness is going to change. So those people that were stuck lower are they're really going to be pushed to have to look at these things. And then I'm hearing the stuckness may happen again in, a couple millennia or hundreds of years or however long it takes. But, we're at least shifting out of this lower stuck right now.
We definitely are, but you can see without going too deep into the conversation, you can see the dissonance that is creating, right?
Mhm.
Because it's apparent, there's people in the forefront, people that we can see. What Not to go into any kind of a political conversation at all, but there are not only political people, but um journalists and writers and all kinds of people who are reacting to that vibrational shift, right?
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, wait a minute, these people who are, these people who feed me have been feeding me all this time. All of us, it's like you're cutting off an energy source for them,
Yeah. Well,
right?
it
And
comes.
that's why they are, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see where I'm going with that?
I do, yeah. And it comes back to humans hate change. We say we want change, we say we need change, but that comes back to our conversation earlier about comfort zone and contentment. That
Hmm.
that's where we're happy, but that doesn't allow us to grow, to expand, and to really increase vibrationally.
Right.
So yeah. Wow, look at that full circle conversation. Who would have thought? With all the places we went, we came back to the beginning again.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
Well, that's what happens when you follow the thread, right?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. We,
follow the
we
thread. You
follow
follow
the
the
thread and
thread.
it got back. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on. I feel like this is a great, point to end this conversation. But I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I learned a lot, and I thank you for being on on today.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled, and I would love to come back.
Yes. Would love to have you back. Yes, would love that. So
So,
thank you
amazing.
thank you so much. For people that want to get in touch with you, I'll have all of your contact information in the description below so they can get in touch with you. But real quickly, what's the best way for someone to get in contact with you?
If you go to Facebook or the internet and you go Angie ZXUH, you're going to find me. I'm the only one on the planet. But my website is angiezxuh.com. My Facebook page is Angie ZXUH. I have a group
Okay.
that's called Visualize, Align, Surrender. So and then I have a YouTube channel, but that one's called Does It Resonate With You? So but we'll have links for all that. But
Yes.
you can't miss me. I'm the only one. I'm literally the only one on the planet.
That's good. Look at you.
Yes.
You've been to this consciousness and you're like, hey, I'm gonna be unique and I'm gonna be my own person. So
Right.
yeah.
Uh,
Um,
that's I don't know. Here we go.
yeah.
Thank you so much once again.
Yes.
I've loved being here. Thank you.
Yes. Well, thank you. Well, for everyone watching, if you have any other people you'd like to suggest or topics or things you want us to cover, definitely let us know. And again, all of Angie's information will be below. So with that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank